very good evening and welcome to BCN News. Leading our news tonight, Niueans who have contributed significantly to the health sector have been recognized with awards, as well as a newly launched book dedicated entirely to Niuean health workers. Called Niue Navigators, the book features 14 health leaders who have contributed to Niue and New Zealand. The book was launched at the Pacifica Medical Association conference, which was held at the Scenic Matavai Resort this week.
Of course, the highlight here was launching the Niue Navigators book, which tells the story of 14 health leaders, all Niuean, who have contributed both here and in New Zealand to building up health services and their service in the health sector. And it's the fifth book in our series, our Navigators series, but such a pleasure to have one dedicated entirely to Niuean health workers. And I'd really encourage people to have a look at that. We'll be leaving some copies at the school and at the hospital.
4 extraordinary Niuean health leaders have also been recognized for their outstanding services to the Pacific health sector with service awards.
So our awardees last night were Associate Professor Dr. Vili Nosa, who is well known here, and he was recognised for his work at the University of Auckland and his work in research, and in particular his research working with the Niuean community. And it was fantastic to see Vili really moved last night by that acknowledgement amongst his peers and colleagues. We also acknowledged Dr. Kara Okaseni. Kara is an obstetric and gynaecologist specialist, and she was also the Director of Health here for some time. And so for her to come back home to her family and being publicly acknowledged was very humbling to watch Kara and see the fantastic work that she has been doing. We also acknowledged Dr. Abi Mitakalena. And Abi not only has a long legacy in Pacific primary care, but of course 3 of his children are doctors as well. And so he's contributed significantly to the Pacific health workforce. And he was unable to make the trip back to Niue due to illness, but his son Alvin, who's also a doctor, accepted that award on his behalf. And the family were very, very grateful that the many years of work and the service that Abi has provided both in New Zealand and around the region was acknowledged last night. Our 4th awardee was the much loved and much admired Mrs. Ketty Ferretti, commonly called the matron, and she has led the nursing workforce here for many years. Her contribution has been immense. Her mentorship and development of young men and women into the nursing workforce and her leadership in the region is unparalleled. And so it was a real pleasure to acknowledge Ketty's service to her community and to the families.
And it's been a special week for Niue as it hosted for the first time the Pacifica Medical Association conference focusing on major health challenges in the region, NCDs and climate change, with the Cook Islands Prime Minister Henry Puna as the chief guest. The 3-day conference provided an opportunity for Niuean health practitioners to share their experiences with colleagues from the Pacific and network.
The idea is for us to learn from each other's experiences and see what areas we will be able to adapt or to use to strengthen the programs that we have in our own health system. It also gives us health professionals here at home an opportunity to network with all of these medical officers from the region. So whatever help we will identify within the department that we would need in terms of technical assistance or for somebody to come in and help us with our work, then we are also given this opportunity to network with them.
Dr. Colin Tukuitonga, who is one of the founding members of the PMA, played a key role in having the conference be held in Niue.
It's fantastic to be able to bring the PMA to Niue for the first time. We've been in Fiji several times actually, and also in other islands, so this is the first one in Niue. It's from that point of view, it's great and it's significant because there's quite a number of young Niueans who have come back, and the big issues, climate change and health, NCDs, the usual thing on diabetes and heart disease. And also I'm hoping that at the end of this there will be continued interest from Niue health professionals based overseas, might come home and spend a week, a month, or to contribute back to the health department here. So a lot of potential, but very pleasing that we've had large numbers of people come to Niue. It was a bit of a unknown, if you like. People don't know much about Niue, and a lot of people were curious but didn't know, and many or most have been pleasantly surprised. Good opening yesterday, good first day, good day today so far as well.
Pacifica Medical Association is a network of Pacific health professionals working collaboratively to strengthen Pacific health workforce capacity and capability and meet the health needs of Pacific people in the region.
I think one of the highlights for us is having the Honourable Henry Puna come and address the meeting, particularly as one of the key themes is what can the health sector and health leaders do to prevent and slow climate change. And so it's a real pleasure to have heard PM Puna talk on that matter, but also to talk about his leadership in making sure that at the Pacific Islands Forum, health is on the agenda every time they meet. This is a really important way forward for our leaders and for countries to be able to focus on what we can collectively do to actually stop climate change.
The conference ended today with the chief guest, the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands, Henry Puna, and conference delegates being hosted to a farewell dinner in the village of Hakupu. Support for people with mental disorders featured in discussions amongst health workers at the conference. A panel discussion on the topic, Growing Pacific Mental Health Workforce in the Region, took place yesterday, featuring mental health practitioners from around the Pacific. The main challenge highlighted is the issue of inadequate specialists in mental health. Suggestions have been made for assistance from the Pacifica Medical Association with research and more literature support and providing a pathway for mental health specialists.
The workforce is a chronic one. There's always shortages of trained health professionals. Not just Niue, Fiji is the same, Nauru's the same, everyone's the same. So the workforce issue is discussed, that gets discussed tomorrow. Mental health is a big one today. Generally people not satisfied with what's happening in terms of support for people with mental disorders, better understanding of what mental disorders mean. The nuance, some would believe that if you have a mental disorder, then it's you're possessed by the devil, all of that sort of stuff. So that's an important topic. And the other one is on child health. There's a pediatrician here known to many, Dr. Tawila Percival. So she's here. There's a session on children and young people.
Plans to start a go-karting venture on the island have hit a bump. BCN News understands that the government was exploring options of starting go-karting as a business venture, but this has come under public scrutiny after an accident involving a 6-year-old riding a go-kart suffered major head injuries over the weekend.
Go-karting is a big tourist attraction in New Zealand and is something the government is exploring, according to Brett Collier, CEO of Telecom Niue. He said the idea is to create interest in young people about go-karting and possible business venture for young people. Brett Collier, though, did want to set the record straight that this is not a Telecom Niue initiative, but something the government was exploring and have not yet made any firm decisions as to whether or not it will pursue this. However, this proposed venture has now come under public scrutiny after an accident involving a 6-year-old boy over the weekend. The young boy was riding a go-kart and crashed onto a coconut tree. The incident happened at the child's home. According to the owner of the go-kart, the child was too young to be on this go-kart. The kart is the only one apparently on the island and have been used to promote go-karting at the Niue High School grounds. BCN News also contacted the new police department on the regulations for such motorised carts. Inspector Ioane said that the current transport law does not regulate for off-road motorised carts, as these are relatively new things to the island. But he does say and cautions that people should do their homework and ensure that they understand these motorised carts and do their research thoroughly before using them. He cautions people that these are not toys and to always remember safety first, especially with children. This is Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
Some business owners on the island are concerned with the ongoing issue of the backlog of freight, with their freight goods yet to arrive after 4 weeks. A New Zealand local agent says this situation is likely to continue over the next few weeks, as this is still peak tourist season.
The concerns of the local businesses are supported by one of the local importers, Sharp Exports. BCN News spoke with Ernest Nemea of Sharp Exports, who confirmed that they have not received any air freight over the 3 weeks now, and this has been an ongoing concern with limited freight space on Air New Zealand. One business owner who frequently uses air freight says that he still has to pay his suppliers in New Zealand, but the goods haven't even reached his shelves yet. BCN News spoke to Air New Zealand agent Pelenis Travel on the island, who explained that this is still peak tourist season when the flights to Niue are full. She says that priority is passengers' luggage and cargo is dependent on weight restrictions, but usually perishables such as fruits and vegetables and eggs are prioritized. She says that the loading is determined by Auckland when they are loading the aircraft. There are only 2 flights to Niue per week. This is Sapavi for BCN News.
Local fishermen are concerned about sharks eating their fish and damaging their fishing gear. Researchers from National Geographic and Ocean 5 are working with the Niue Ocean-wide project to understand the issue fishermen are having with sharks to develop solutions to coexist.
This is a collaborative project now, working with fishermen, trying to see if there's a way to understand how the sharks and the tuna and the fishermen are all interacting with one another, particularly around the fishing buoys, and then to see if there's a way that we can mitigate or limit the amount of damage that the sharks are causing. Because globally, sharks are declining, and there's no debate about that. But when sharks become an issue to fishermen, there's concerns for their livelihood, for commerce, and so forth. So it's definitely an issue that needs to be looked into, and so we're excited to be part of this project because it's really one of the first ever done in the ocean looking at sharks and this interaction.
The last trip, we started our pilot project where we implanted acoustic tags into sharks and tuna, and we put listening stations or acoustic receivers on 9 of the fads. This trip, 5 months later, we've come back and we've actually deployed more tags. So now we have 20 tags on yellowfin tuna and 22 tags on sharks, and we have 10 receivers out. So we've downloaded some of the data and we've actually got some exciting preliminary results. So again, this is just the pilot, so we don't draw any conclusions from these data, but we are able to see that the fads are being used by both tuna and sharks. There's some interesting movement between the fads and actually between the animals. There are some interesting gaps, so we don't know what those gaps mean yet, but we're really excited by the data that we have collected and to continue to collaborate with the fishers, with government, with the NOW project to develop a solution.
What we find in places where there's a lot of sharks is that the system functions much more effectively. They typically take care of the weak and sick animals, but they cause the whole ecosystem to function more effectively so they can respond better to disturbance, like you have a cyclone or something like that. The sharks are the top predators in the ecosystem. So where you have sharks in the system, the prey species tend to live shorter and grow faster. And so it builds this resilience into the system that allows it to respond to disturbance. And just they obviously were there before, and so a system without sharks tends to be a system out of balance, and things don't function as well as when they're present. And so it's just something that it's obviously a concern to the fishing community because it's affecting their livelihood, their way of life, their commerce. But we have to find a way to coexist because once we start to lose sharks and then we start to lose other species, then the entire system gets out of balance.
And finally, crowds braved the rain to attend the Alofi North Village Show Day, which was held at the Niue High School grounds last Saturday.
Visitors to the grounds didn't feel the chill in the rain as they walked around the school grounds last Saturday. The village council, the Member of Parliament and government dignitaries welcomed the visitors to the show. The village farmers also displayed their fruit and vegetables grown especially for the day. There were plenty of food on sale, with everyone leaving the show day happy and satisfied. The next Village Show Day will be the village of Avasele next month. Sesa Pavi for BCN News.
And that's BCN News for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Do join us same time next Monday. Until then, have a safe weekend.